So we are today starting with Akbar the Great. He's going to be the third Mughal ruler, and he's going to take power, the throne, at the ripe old age of 14. Oh yeah, ready to rule an empire at 14. Some sources have him as young as 12 that I've seen, and I've seen other sources say 15. 14 is the most common that you'll see, though. And he goes and, besides being emperor, he gets great gifts from his father before he passed around of lots of war elephants. What every little boy wants for Christmas, for Hanukkah, in their stocking, a nice war elephant. He's actually the guy that was really pioneered the use of the war elephants, like we saw in the picture yesterday with the armor and the Rajput guitars instead of tufts. Oh, it's just so cool. Anyways, he's going to build a humongous army. And with that, he's, of course, going to conquer much. Oh, there's a big kitty cat hanging out right by my window. That's kind of crazy because I don't own a cat. It kind of startled me because it's like big and fluffy and like right there. Whoa. Anyways, he conquered a ton of territory. Parts of northern India that Babur didn't conquer, also present-day Pakistan, places like that. But he was more than just a conqueror. He didn't just follow the Alexander the Great way of being quote-unquote great. He was also a fantastic administrator. He went and created a great central government, which was powerful, but he didn't just have all the power to himself. He knew how to delegate. Delegation of power is something where you have, of course, President Steele. But President Steele is too busy to do everything. So he says, Jude, I need you to take care of this district. And Leighton, take care of this one. And London, this one. And Zainab, that one. And Rachel, this one. And Veronica, that one. So they divide up all of India that he controls, all of the Mughal Empire, into 15 provinces and puts governors like Rachel or Veronica or Zainab in charge of there. But let's face it, those provinces are still pretty big. So they actually then divided those up into districts. So Zainab says, Mikkel, I need you to handle this district. No, I need you to handle that district. And then it's divided up even further into sub-districts. So he sets up this great bureaucracy where the Mughal Empire is able to govern and rule itself very well, which is pretty cool. That's still not probably the greatest accomplishment with Akbar, however. Akbar is going to be known for his religious tolerance. Now, this is going to be a big deal because we are going to know that India is going to be very diverse with its cultures and faiths in there. We talked last year about how we had Jainism, Buddhism, and primarily Hinduism as the religions of India. We know that all of those faiths are pretty tolerant of each other, and for the most part, they've gotten along pretty well. But when the Mughals come in, we know that unlike the Mongols, where they went and adopted the cultures, religions that they conquered, they stayed very, very strongly and devoutly Muslim. And so we have this conflict here where on the top we have Islamic rulers, which profess that there is only one God, and then the people are going to be Hindu, which are going to have polytheistic, and this idea that many of these different gods are actually just, actually all the Hindu gods would be different manifestations of Brahman. So this idea that Hindus are saying, you stop telling us to believe in one God, like we've got this, and then Muslims say, no, you need to follow. So for some of the rulers, there was a lot of clash, a lot of conflict, and he seeks to end this. One of the things that was really kind of terrible is if you were a Hindu in India, which was the vast majority of the population, you had to pay additional taxes called the poll tax. And just said, oh, just like other places, they said, okay, you're not our religion, pay this tax. And that was really unfortunate because a lot of people were particularly poor. Akbar the Great is going to remove that tax. He also, though, he'd like to spend his time just hearing what people believed. So he had Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, all sorts of people, anybody he could find, Zoroastrians, coming in, and just they would go to his court, and he just wanted them to tell him what they believed and try to understand about that, which is something I respect a lot, just the ability to go and make your own decisions and try to be informed. Now, what he winds up doing, though, is he gets this idea, thinking that, well, if I can just go and take aspects of each of these different faiths, I can make it where one faith where everyone could just believe it and everyone could just get along great. And he calls it Din Ilahi. Now, Din Allahi did not catch on. I'm not sure if you could go find any people who follow Din Allahi today, but he basically tried to go take ideas from Islam, Hinduism, and Zoroastrianism, and even a little Buddhism and Jainism and Christianity, and bring them all into one. This does not really um, catch on. Looking at it, it's like so seeing there was never probably more than 18 people that ever followed it at the same time. So that's not a very successful religion if you can only get, 18 people. But some people did follow it after Akbar died. Just I don't think anybody today would say, "Oh yes, I'm a Din Ilahiyist." Probably not. Poor guy. Um, but Akbar, pretty great ruler, pretty amazing hat. Am I right? Oh yeah, it's so good. Also, fantastic mustache. Yeah, just the mustachery and hats are just great. Those are actually the years that he ruled the empire. That's not when he was alive. So add 14 to that, and then you got it. So here's just a little excerpt from it. You don't have to write this, but we see another glorious hat, another glorious stash. A Mughal emperor of India, Akbar united Indian territory north of the Vidhya range under one empire. His rule is noted for many reforms, including the abolition of slavery, which that's pretty great because people shouldn't be making anyone a slave. This is something that is I very strongly believe. And he had way more trade. Plus, to add to his awesomeness, patron of the arts and encourager of science. So he's going making the world a better, more beautiful place. Although himself a Muslim, his tolerance for non-Muslims in his empire was remarkable. His enlightened leadership became a model for later Mughal rulers, which unfortunately a lot didn't follow that model. We can see a lot of really great things about Akbar here. Just a really good, strong ruler, and he was well-rounded. Had the military conquest, he had the trade, he had the religious tolerance, he had the ability to encourage science. I mean, just he did it all. Now let's get to his son, who did not do it all, Jahangir. Um, you know, if you guys remember in fifth grade, we talked about the Shah dynasty and how some of those rulers liked drinking so much that they had an entire lake made of just wine. And then they had those meat trees made so they could just hang out and drink from their wine lake and eat from their meat trees. And that was considered excessive and bad. He does not go to the extent of wine lakes and meat trees, but if he had the idea, he probably would have done it because he just loved to party all the time. So he was not a good ruler. He did not think about his people. He thought about partying hard. He wasn't a great warrior either. He lost a lot of battles. So he doesn't get any points in that regard. The biggest thing against Jahangir is he's going to wind up being very oppressive of a new faith. A new religion called Sikhism was starting. Now, Sikhism is pretty interesting. It is a marriage between Islam and Hinduism. It is monotheistic, so they believe in one God, but they also believe in reincarnation, like we have with Hinduism. And so Jahangir couldn't tolerate another monotheistic faith. He thought it was bad. He taxed them. He arrested some, had some even killed. And then, of course, because they're getting oppressed, they rebelled against him, which made him oppress them more. And then there was more rebellion. So he really, he's called the paragon of stability, but he actually created a lot of instability within India, which is a real bummer. So Sikhism, you're going to read a little bit about it, I think tomorrow night. Guru Nanak is going to be the founder. You'll read about him. And like I said, it's a combination of Islam and Christianity. They don't do things like pilgrimage to Mecca or the five pillars. They don't do the yogas of Hinduism. But it's, like I said, monotheistic, but with reincarnation. And the goal is to stop reincarnating and be one with God. Anyways, that's our two rulers for today, looking at Akbar the Great and all the awesome that he did, and then his son Jahangir, who was less than awesome. Your assignment today, of course, and I'm going to stop the recording now, is going to